Hello, everybody. It's Philip Lee returning with another episode of Civil War Chat. Today is Friday, the 24th of September, 2021. Please click on the subscribe button below in the lower right to subscribe, and also the notification bell in the upper right to be notified when new episodes are released. Today's talk is going to be entitled To Be a Nation. America is not a place, it is an idea. Really, two ideas. First, it is the American dream that has brought immigrants to our country down to the present day, seeking a better life. Undeniably, many made that dream come true based upon capitalist foresight and industry. Second is the sense of nationhood provided by our motto, e pluribus unum, out of many one. During most of our history, the second factor enabled us to defeat our foes. Perhaps unity was easier when America was predominantly composed of European immigrants and their descendants. But they certainly had their differences, as evidenced by at least the war between the states, and obviously other differences. Nonetheless, even the descendants of Union and Confederate veterans were able to unify as Americans when our country was threatened by external foes. Presently, however, America's European immigrants and their progenies compose only 60% of our population. That fraction is certain to continue dropping, particularly as Democrats promote their own agenda through illegal immigration across our southern border. Increasingly, therefore, it will be up to Democrats to unify us once they gain the control that they seek, the long-term control. Yet that party's identity politics is doing just the opposite. It is breaking us into component parts. It falsely portrays America as composed of two factions, oppressors and victims. They deny that Americans have any personal agency and therefore identify victims collectively, groups, as persons composed of immutable group characteristics, such as black skin or the female sex. That's why their party is mostly composed of non-whites and women. Since identity politics also places the white male at the bottom of the totem pole as the evilest of all oppressors, Democrats also imagine that domestic white supremacists represent America's biggest terrorist threat. And that's quite an imagination. Nonetheless, the Anti-Defamation League estimates that total KKK membership at only 3,000 people across the entire country. Confederate statue removal and defacement results from appeasement to identity politics. Contrary to anti-statue rhetoric, the removals and defacements are not actions of national inclusion for Blacks. That could have been accomplished by erecting new statues to Black heroes from the past. In truth, the statue removals and defacements are deliberate acts to exclude any honor for the Confederate soldier and his descendants, notwithstanding that his sons more readily answer the call of duty than residents from other parts of the country during our postbellum wars. Those sons are also demonized for carrying souvenir Confederate battle flags with them into battle for inspiration. Some of the tanks that freed German concentration camps flew that flag. A British traveler's long American tour about 20 years ago suggests that the wokeness resulting from identity politics creates a national hatred of contemporary Southerners, as well as the Confederate soldier. Their real target is the contemporary Southerner. At the turn of the century, about 20 years ago, Tom Fremantle from Britain entered the United States at Brownsville, Texas, and walked to Washington, D.C. Walked to Washington, D.C. in the company of a mule. Tom was a descendant of British Lieutenant Colonel Arthur J.L. Fremantle, who also entered at Brownsville in 1863, then a Confederate state, and journeyed all the way to Gettysburg in 3 months. where he observed the battle from the Confederate side. Now, the colonel summarized his trip in a book titled 3 Months in the Southern States. Tom, his descendant, summarized his walk with the mule in a book titled The Moonshine Mule. By the time Tom reached Northern Virginia, he noticed that certain people were, quote, dismissive of the South. Some were on a lark, while others were stuffy types whose opinions had nothing to do with political morality and everything to do with smugness. My dear, you walked through Alabama. I wouldn't even drive through there. The South's an embarrassment. It's worse than the third world. When Tom asked these people if they had ever been to Mississippi or South Carolina, they usually replied, Lord, no, never. To Tom's surprise, he often found himself a passionate defender of the South. In short, Democrats don't promote unity by relieving themselves on Southern boots and calling it rain. They've got a lot to learn if they gain long-term power. They got a lot to learn about how to create a single nation from their power. I suspect they will resort to dictatorship or authoritarianism of some type. So what I'd like to do now is to share with you something. Here we go. This is my book, Causes of the Civil War, and I think you'll enjoy it if you get a copy of it. What this book does, it examines why both the North and the South chose to fight the war. Everybody says, well, the South fought for slavery, but this one really looks at why the North chose to go to fight. It wasn't, they didn't choose to begin the war or begin in the early part of the war. They did not go there at all for slavery. The reason they went was to avoid the economic consequences of disunion, which would include a low tariff nation on their southern border, which would cause the domestic monopolies in the northern states north of the Mason-Dixon line and the Ohio River to become much weaker relative to the British and the Europeans. That's the reason they went to war. And there's a lot more in this book that covers why the North chose to fight. From what I read on the discussion boards, whether they're Facebook or others, there's a lot in here that people that are trying to defend the South just don't realize, and they should buy it. So it's available at Barnes & Noble and Amazon for $22. But if you'd like to get an autographed copy, you can get it from me. Here in the United States, I'll charge you $25. I'll autograph it and cover the postage to you. Just email me, Phil, PHIL _Leigh, LEIGH at me.com. Okay, that's our show for today, and thanks for watching. I look forward to seeing you next time.